maybe equivalent, who's to say? So like Dr. Curry said, my name is Miss Mary Ribbeck. These are my 3 questions or objectives. I know, very teachery of me, objectives on the board. But if you saw, QR code. If you scan the QR code, it's also on these papers around the room. That will lead you to a Google folder about a few things that I've created throughout my time here at Penn State based on education. But before we get into the questions, I want to talk a little bit about my background. I graduated from Ephrata Senior Area High School. In 2022, I was a part of the Cloister FFA chapter, directed by Miss Sarah Stauffer. I came from a Berks campus, satellite, not Commonwealth. It was a satellite campus before I came up here my sophomore year. I worked a little bit on dairy, but I don't traditionally come from agriculture background. So most of my content and ag background comes from my time at high school and my time here at Penn State. So the first question, what educational opportunities have I engaged in to become a better agriculture educator? To begin, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my academic experiences. We're going to start with some courses that I've taken here at Penn State that have been beneficial. So number 1 is CAS 100A. So this is a public speaking course I took back at Berks campus. But what makes this special is not only did I learn about public speaking, I learned how to teach. I was a TA my 2nd semester here. Which really connected the dots of I really want to be a teacher, and teaching ag is where I'm supposed to be. Secondly, probably the hardest course I've ever taken at Penn State is Anti-201, which is animal science. It's notorious around here in College of Ag. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows Mr. Dale Olver. But I really appreciated that course and all that it taught me. It taught me we did a meat science lab, which I hope to do in my food science course in the spring. And then finally, my INTAG 490 class. So this connects to my international agriculture minor. This was the capstone class, but what I really took away from this course was reflection. We did a lot of reflecting and the benefit of reflecting and learning and how that connects. As well as we did like daily check-ins, which was a classroom culture that I had never seen before. And I really liked it and hope to do that in my future classroom. And then finally, I do have a minor in international agriculture. It's kind of a mini passion of mine. Is agriculture is a global industry, so we should treat it as such, education-wise, and we should connect. You know, farmers are across the country. Farmers and educators are across the globe. So how can we connect and how can we solve the issues within the industry, like food security? That's Dr. Knoll and I up at the Capitol, and we did some pretty cool things. Some certifications. So I have the American Red Cross First Aid and CPR. So if anybody needs a doctor, I am not that, but I can give you CPR. I also have the National Safe Tractor and Machinery Operation Instructor certification, which I will be teaching here in the spring. And then I also have the National Beef Quality and Assurance certification. Some internships experiences. So the first one I want to talk to is the Pennsylvania School of Excellence for Agricultural Sciences. I did this for 2 years. It's a program over the summer where high schoolers can come and live on campus and learn about the college. They take classes, so not only did they learn things, but I learned things about the College of Ag that I had no idea. Shout out to Dr. Hoover and Jenneth on the slide. But as you can see, we did have some fun, but we also learned a lot, and I learned a lot about how to connect with high schoolers in and outside of the classroom. Next up is my most recent is the Global Teach Ag Network, or GTAN. So I'm a research intern. I have a project here that got approved, which is pretty exciting, approved to be presented here in Costa Rica. So if anybody, there might be like something going around for some funding to go to Costa Rica, because that would be pretty cool. But my research project it's about high impact experiences for undergraduates studying agriculture education and how that can impact their culture and their multicultural competency, and how that will lead to a better and more culturally competent classroom. Which leads me to my next slide, which is how am I going to implement multicultural competency into my classroom? So high impact immersions are events that are supposed to be impactful highly to get you thinking about culture and thinking about the world through somebody else's eyes. So some ways that I did that is I went to the World Food Foundation or Food Prize, which was in Iowa, and it was a global conference. And I got to learn about agriculture across the globe. I got to hear others' perspectives on agriculture and how we can address food security and the Sustainable Development Goals. I also went to Belize. That was super fun. So that was my international experience connected to my minor, along with the goals program. But I mean, one of my favorite memories from that was we went to like a cultural youth like center, and we had lots of food and we danced and we had a bunch of time. But it was our culture and their culture kind of coming together, which is how I would like my classroom to be. And then finally, I got to teach out in Oklahoma. At a school with a 98% Hispanic population, which was completely different than what I am used to. I had students who didn't speak English fluently, and I had to navigate how to do that, how to teach them so that they stay up to date with everything that I was teaching about. Some professional development, and personal, I guess, but professional development. So most recently, we went to the NAAE conference. So there's a fun selfie, but we got to do professional development pretty much all day, every day. We got to hear from seasoned teachers, and we got to hear from student teachers in the same position as me. And that was really fun and really cool. And then also Mushroom Mania was over the summer. That was a professional development food science workshop about mushrooms. Didn't know there was that much to learn about a fungus, but there is. And I'm teaching the food science course in the spring, so I'm hoping to connect with some things that I learned from there as well. And then again, the World Food Prize. Recently, I went to a greenhouse management workshop, which was beneficial for if I ever have a greenhouse in the future at my school or wherever I end up, how to run that a little bit. Then we have the INTAG exploration trip, where we went to Harrisburg and Philadelphia, and we got to go to the Capitol and talk to legislators about international agriculture. And we also got to go see the import and export port in Philadelphia. And then we have the PAA Northern Regional Meeting, and then the Inquiry Institute. Number 2. Who do I inspire to be as a teacher? So my teaching philosophy then versus now, if you did scan that QR code, my teaching philosophy currently isn't posted in there. But I this gray one was from when I took AE 100 in my semester or my sophomore year. And then this is my new one. So I definitely kind of mainstreamed it a little bit. But overall, my true values and beliefs in teaching have kind of stayed the same. I want a safe and inclusive environment in my classroom. I want success for students in and outside of the classroom. I want to connect the classroom, FFA, and SAE, so that 3-circle model that those in Ag Ed are so familiar with. I want to connect those 3. I want community involvement and civic engagement. Not only do I want to teach students how to be good students, hopefully to be good people and to be good citizens. Lifelong learning. I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner, so I hope that I can influence students to do the same. And then student-driven, so kind of leading back to that Inquiry Institute, we learned a lot about how you can shift your curriculum so that the students are driving, and they're asking the questions, and they are really, that's how you get them invested. And so I hope to kind of implement some of those into my teachings. Very good. Classroom management. So I have these lovely posters. You could probably see them a little bit better up on the board, but we have our daily classroom procedures. So every day is not going to look the exact same, but overall, you're going to come in, you're going to clear your mind for learning, and then you're going to have a bell ringer or a warm up of some sorts. We're going to do the daily learning activities, whether that's a lecture, whether that's a lab, whether that's going to a greenhouse. We're going to clean up our area. I'm not the most tidy person, but I want my classroom to be. So I'm gonna make it the student's responsibility. And finally, we have an exit ticket. So I'm reflecting back on what we learned that day and how they can use that in the future. We have some classroom expectations. So I hope students are on time and prepared. Obviously, I will have pencils if they forget it, but I want them to be, for the most part, prepared. Be respectful. I'll be respectful of you if you're respectful of me. So if I expect respect, I should be respecting them as well. To be engaged, so no phones. I'm so sorry. I know. No phones. I don't really I like to use them. They're a useful tool, but overall they can be distracting. So you can see at the bottom, I have an electronics expectation. that they should be away unless I say otherwise. Safety first, we're going to be doing a lot of hands-on things in our mechanic shop, in our labs with chemicals. So making sure that we're always having our safety glasses on and we're following safety procedures. And then this I actually borrowed from my high school. Their motto was to do what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it, and where you're supposed to be doing it. Yes, it kind of, I think, overall, if you're following that, you should be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then finally, my consequence chart. So first up, we have our yellow light, which is more like the warning. So that's your verbal warning, a seat change, or a private check-in, depending to see what's going on. And then a slippery slope, which is like you would write me a written reflection of why your behavior might not be the best and why that's not productive to learning. And then loss of privileges, so maybe you don't go into the lab that day, and then a call or email home to check in to see what's going on, to see if talking to the parents might lead to maybe there's something going on at home that I need to be aware of. And then finally, the red zone. This is, you don't want to be here. This is going to the office. So unfortunately, if there's something that I can't handle in my classroom, I'll have to refer to the office, but hopefully most of my behavioral issues can be kept in the classroom. My model program curriculum. So again, in that QR code, there is a program planning handbook. So I have like my dream curriculum. Hypothetically, I would like to be in a multi-teacher program, but this is for a single teacher program. So in 9th grade, everybody would take like an intro to ag. And then 10th grade, you would pick a pathway, either animal science, ag mechanics, or plant science. And then based off that, you would take that year-long course. And then in your 11th and 12th, you could pick from these semester-long courses to kind of either go along with your pathway, or if you have an interest in something else. But let's say you're looking for a career in plant science, but you're interested in, I don't know, woodworking. You could kind of do that. And then I have some like an example. So food science and biotechnology. So this would be example units. And then I have some example of lessons for my intro to food science, some like lesson titles of what I could potentially teach. My comprehensive lab integration. So this is my student project. I didn't name him. Maybe his name can be Will or something. But this is a concrete jack-o'-lantern that I made, plant sponsored by Dr. Curry's office. But this is the rubric, and then I have my bill of materials of how much it would cost. They're fairly cheap. They're about $6 per student. And it's a fun little fall decoration. They could paint it at home if they wanted, or it could be a gift to their mom. And then this would be my dream greenhouse facility. So within the greenhouse, hypothetically, like some compost for sustainability, a hydroponic system that's really growing in the ag industry, some growing tables, storage, and then a floral cooler for like some floriculture type activities. So there's the greenhouse. Supervised agricultural experience integration. So those in ag ed know that SAE for all is like the hot topic, which is definitely something I agree with and hope to integrate within my program. So SAE projects is a supervised agricultural experiences. There's placement, which is like an internship or a job. There's school-based enterprises where you're doing your project, but maybe on campus at school. And then there's entrepreneurship and research. So if they want to learn more about something, they can make that research project for themselves. And this is connecting like our content into industry, and we're really aligning so that after high school they're ready and able to go into the industry or into college. And then AET, students dread it, but I love it. It helps with financial literacy with record books, and it keeps them organized, and it keeps everything about their project in one spot for grading purposes. FFA integration. So hopefully there would be an FFA chapter where I end up, where we'll have an office team, we'll have committees, we'll have community service, really connecting the community in to be a part of our ag program and inviting them into learning about what we do and why it's so cool and why you should support it. We have career and leadership development events. So I have obviously like our team practices. And for these, yes, I want them to be connected to what I'm teaching to kind of connect that. I also think it's important for if a student has a real passion for public speaking that they go and they improve it, because that's a skill that they need. So it might not be a plant CD but it's definitely something that they need to do as they grow into adults. And then conferences and conventions. So there's local, state, and national. So I hope to participate and have students participate. They're really fun. They're really cool opportunities. And typically, at least from my experiences, those are what you remember the most with your time in FFA. Program marketing and recruitment. Also in that QR code is videos or links to videos that I made. These are hypothetical program recruitment. So these are about Penn Manor where I'm student teaching. But this is one way to get students. We could post this on social media. We could have it linked to a website. However we want to market. We want to market positive experiences throughout the FFA chapter. There's press releases to the local newspaper. If a student does really well in FFA or in SAE, they win an award, a press release is getting written so that we're staying relevant. Service projects in the community, again, connecting the community and inviting them into our space. Teacher appreciation. In ag ed, you have to take your students out quite a bit. So it's important to show the teachers in math and everything, everywhere else in the school that we appreciate them letting the students miss that curriculum. And then school-wide events for like national FFA events, so we can recruit outside of in our classes, and maybe they'll pick up an ag class the next year. Community integration and involvement. So the Occupational Advisor Committee and Local Advisory Committee. So those I would hypothetically hopefully have. You need them in Pennsylvania if you're an approved program. But to have industry talking with me and how we can connect and make sure that we're staying relevant with our curriculum so that students are being career ready when they're walking out of the ag department. And then alumni and supporters chapter. I didn't have one in my high school, but I have seen through other programs how impactful they can be to bring back your alumni, and they can have all the nostalgia. Oh, remember when? They're a great support system for students. Again, service learning events, guest speakers and presenters. I know that I've already formulated my friends who are in College of Ag. I'm like, when you have a job, you're going to come back into my classroom and you're going to talk about it. And then for funding, there's the Learning by Doing grants. There's plenty of grants out there. So that's definitely something to be aware of how can we integrate the community within my program. And finally, how am I prepared to maximize my student teaching internship opportunity? So I mentioned it a little bit, but I'm student teaching at Penn Manor High School, which is a pretty large program. There's 5 teachers, but I will be under Mr. Neil Fellenbaum for the most part, and a little bit under Miss Amanda Gagne. Like I said, it's pretty large. There's about 400 students, and then they have a very active and very active FFA chapter. So here are some of the facilities. So they have the Ag Mechanics Lab, which you can see in some of these pictures. They have classrooms. They have a food science lab, which it's not technically a lab, but they have like a big counter space with all the things for food science. They have a greenhouse, and they also have a floriculture cooler, which I'm very excited about because I love flowers. This is my schedule. So I counted it up, and it's about 160 lessons and 13 units. So this is kind of my progression. Food science and biotechnology is basically my passion project. That's the one that I'm spending the most time in. Ag Mech, I'm co-teaching with Mr. Fellenbaum, but I'm excited to be in the classroom and learn more about Ag Mech right now. And then that's my bell schedule. So here are some of like the strengths of Penn Manor. I definitely think the quality of the program is very high up there. I was very impressed with their facility upkeep and their curriculum when I started to visit. Their community involvement, they do alumni nights, they do community nights where they're teaching adult learners about the agriculture industry and getting them ready for a job. They have very good recruitment and marketing. The SAE integration, every student does have an SAE. And then CDE prep, Mr. Fellenbaum does a great job with his poultry and floriculture teams. And then my strengths that I would like to bring to the program, my organization, no offense, Penn Manor, but their Google Drive is it's a monster. So maybe I can throw in some of my organization for that. LDE coaches, LDEs, I love public speaking, and I like to coach people in public speaking. So I hope that I can get maybe one junior prepared participating. Lifelong learning again, and then my own self-improvement. They can see me grow so that they can mimic growing for themselves. Personal reflection. So some of my strengths that I think I have are passion. I'm very passionate about agriculture, and I'm very passionate about students and their success. I like to think that I've started a growth mindset. Maybe a few years ago that would have been different, but I've definitely gotten more into the growth mindset. And I hope to continue to grow that. And then kindness and empathy. I'm a very empathetic person, so I hope that I can continue that. And then areas for improvement, my knowledge and experience. I have experience, as we all know, I've been here for 4 years, but I hope to continue to grow with my experience in teaching. Balance, this is a great example of what not to do. You can see down here, that's like taken at like 3 a.m. So maybe time management and balance of work-life balance might need to be strengthened a little bit. And then agriculture mechanics is definitely one of my weaker subjects, but I'm excited to jump into my ag mech class and learn more. And then some of my professional goals, effective instructional and planning. So again, how can I streamline my planning to be efficient, but proactive and good quality? Again, agriculture mechanics, my classroom management. Sometimes I can get a little nervous when I'm trying to manage people and I don't want to set that boundary. So I really want to focus on setting that boundary with students of these are the expectations and this is what you need to be doing so that we can learn effectively. And then creativity and activities. As I continue my education career, I hope that my activities continue. My activities in the classroom continue to grow and to become more engaging and maybe more inquiry-based and shifting towards more student-driven. Thank you. Again, thank you to everybody who came. I really appreciate you all being here and supporting me. There's some fun photos of all of you, but thank you all.
Or ask our folks in the chat if you don't mind putting your questions in there. If you get a question from the audience, they get us going.
Yeah, sure.
One thing, right? This is so cool to see this journey you've been on. You mentioned reflection. You gave us a little bit at the end.
Yes.
Can I push you on that a little bit?
Oh, for sure.
How is Mary standing here in December 2025 different as a person, as a student, as a future educator? How are you different than when you started college 3.5 years ago? Is question one.
Yes.
Question two, there's a line on a slide that said bus chase question.
Oh, yeah.
That, if you could tell.
Oh, if I could tell that, I completely missed that. Bus chase. Yeah. So how has Mary changed from today or from back then to today? Definitely confidence. I've become and I've grown more confident as an educator and knowing my values and standing on them, and how can I implement that into a classroom. I've grown a lot as a person. I've made lots of mistakes, but I've grown from them all. So I appreciate everybody who has stuck with me through said mistakes. Bus chase. Yeah, so we went to the ports, like I said, and we had a miscommunication, I'd say, with our bus driver, and basically everybody thought we were trying to I don't even know, just steal things from the import? I don't know. But we got chased around in the bus for a little bit. It was pretty funny. Does that live up to your bus chase? Oh, perfect. Yeah. Anybody else?
So Mary, we have a couple items in the chat to share.
Sure.
The first is from Maya. I'm so proud of you, Mary. And then the next one we have is from Grace. Mary, you did an amazing job as always. You talked a little bit about your personal teaching philosophy, but how will you strive to create a safe and inclusive learning environment both inside and outside the classroom?
Good question. I think that I can implement it through what I've learned here, through like time at Penn State. My time at Penn State, especially in Maya's classrooms and everything, we learn about how can we make people feel safe and how can we remove that bias that we grew up with, because we all have bias, right? And that's okay, but it's important to recognize those biases and to understand people from different perspectives. So implementing a safe and inclusive environment in my classroom would be looking like in the beginning of a semester or a course, we'd ask the students to tell me about themselves. I want to know them. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know if they're having a bad day and that they can come talk to me. And kind of just really always having that welcome and open door for students to come if they need anything, like that. So we'll leave it at that. Anybody else? Oh boy.
Looking forward to most during student teaching.
Looking forward to the most. Oh, student connections. I'm really excited to get in the classroom. I've been in the classroom a little bit, like in Oklahoma, and that was truly the best part, was just getting to know them and getting to know their life stories and see them immersed in the content. That makes me excited. Seeing them excited excites me as well. So
Yeah, I'd like to build on that, but I'm fascinated by the difference from Ephrata, Pennsylvania to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
yeah.
And being in those different schools and environments. And so would you share a specific teaching practice
Hmm.
that you would note as a difference between those two locations and what you would incorporate in thinking?
Mm. A teaching practice, especially in Oklahoma City with their high Hispanic population, is that they have a lot of ESL teachers in the classroom, which they're very fortunate. Some schools may up in Pennsylvania might not have as many that are needed. And so we kind of have to work around that. So I definitely hope that even though I'm not maybe necessarily fluent in every language, I'm not, that's really hard and kind of impossible, that I can work with them and I can use what Dr. Greg was the teacher in Oklahoma, and I saw how he navigated that and how I can navigate that in the future of like,
Can you share one example?
yeah, he would print out all the slides in Spanish, and then hand it to maybe one or two students that weren't as fluent. He would sit that student with students who were more probably the most proficient in English so that they can keep them updated. And then obviously like Google Translate of how they could have a conversation. There's multiple apps like that where I can just pull it up on my phone and talk, and then they can understand what I'm saying and I can understand what they're saying, and it's a more direct and fluid conversation.
Mary, I'm gonna, one of your goals is classroom management, and something that caught my attention that was posted on your classroom management poster, and then the statement you said about a slippery slope there, lots of privilege, and possibly not going into the greenhouse.
Yeah.
How will you ensure that when we are administering consequences that we're not impeding their learning experience and their growth and understanding knowledge and experience in their class?
Yes, good question. Hypothetically, if a student was acting out that much or maybe they were being unsafe in the greenhouse and they were not picking up what I was putting down of like, we have to cut that out. I would hypothetically have like an alternative assignment, or maybe I would make them retake the greenhouse safety quiz, and then I would have a printout of, or the worksheet that the other students were working on in the greenhouse, and I'd give them and they could work on that individually. If we were going out the greenhouse, hypothetically, they could sit, like, not to like put them in timeout, but they could sit in the back or in the corner to work on that greenhouse safety and learning about how to behave properly in the greenhouse. And then once done with that, they can move on to the content that they missed.
Mary, my question is related, and it's, my experience is that people who have a very positive, upbeat, jovial spirit, as you do, sometimes are challenged by drawing the line between friend and mentor,
Yes.
buddy and teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love for you just to speak a little bit about your reflections on how you're intending to draw that line in both student teaching and your curriculum.
Yeah, this is definitely something I've thought a lot about. I like to make everybody my friend. But there is a line, there's a line. I'm supposed to be the professional, I'm the teacher. And they have to understand that's the line is I can be there if you're having a bad day and you can rant. But obviously like there will be a line of, okay, I can't, if I'm hearing this, I have to go do something about it. Or if I'm hearing this, I can't say anything about it, but I can listen. And having those expectations like on the first day and just I think constant reminders to myself of okay, where is the line again and how close to the line am I? But definitely just every day going into the classroom with I'm the teacher. I'm the teacher. Yes, that is my role.
Mary, we have a few more comments and questions in the chat for you. Todd Arwood says, job well done. And Robin's pressure, also say good presentation. And then I have a question for you from Maya.
Okay.
What strategies will you utilize to develop balance in work life during your student teaching experience? And more importantly, which karaoke song will you sing in your car on your home
Um, I had to go, obviously, Maya. That was the time of Belize. We karaokeed in Belize and I did Hot to Go and I absolutely crushed it. But a more serious question about like work-life balance during student teacher in my future. When we were at NEE, we had a roundtable with teachers, and the one that I went to first was boundaries and work-life balance. I was like, that's me. I need that. And the teacher there said for every academic or work-based event on your calendar goes one personal event on your calendar. And you have to write it in pen. You can't scratch it. You can't get rid of it. I don't know how realistic that is, especially for a student teacher, because a lot of my effort and time will have to go into teaching. But definitely, like, maybe my Saturdays will be for Mary and not for Miss Ribbeck. Anyway. Oh, go for it.
So you mentioned Emily and I've heard from some other folks that you guys did like a little 5-year planning.
Yeah.
What do you have on the docket for 5 years from now?
Sure. So my first year goals, we can kind of walk through it, but my first year goals, one is to survive, and to make it through. And then, my second one is to find a course and kind of make it like my baby and really solidify and be really confident in it. Not saying that my other content courses are going to be lacking, but really finalizing one. And then the next year we would tack on another one. And then until finally I would have a full curriculum that I was really proud of. And then my 3-year plan. So hypothetically in 3 years, I would have maybe a few state recognized teams. Finger crossed. I would have a really mainstream expectations and like order of how we would go on trips and like those sorts of things. Like my expectations on trips, I would be a little bit more experienced of how we're gonna do that and maybe like have a plan of how that is supposed to carry out. And then for my 5 years plan, I would hypothetically like to have either my master's or my second my like accreditation too. So the credits for that. Hoping for a master's. But and then I want to be in my like hypothetically my forever home of really confident and comfortable where I'm teaching and I'm really enjoying it and that I can see myself staying there for a really long time. So those are some of those goals.
Mary, could you share for me what the educational purpose or function of supervised agricultural experience is without using agricultural education acronyms or jargon?
Sure. Okay. So can I say supervised agriculture experience? Okay. So a supervised agriculture experience is an experience that a student is student-based, so it's based off their interest and their career goals, and it's connecting what they're learning in the classroom to industry and their passion. So taking their passion, for example, if they want to be a florist, that maybe their SAE would be working at a florist shop or a floral shop and really connecting industry to the classroom so that when they move out of the classroom, they're ready and prepared for the industry. Does that work?
Mary, when it's all said and done, what do you hope students, your colleagues, your peers, administrators, parents say about you after student?
Mm. I hope that they recognized and saw that little Mary came to class every day trying her best and that she was passionate about what she does and that she might not be the world's best educator, but she's working towards that goal.
I think that's a great way to end it, Mary.
Thank you.